Why did you do that? What the hell? It's just an appraisal. The house is filled with all the memories of my parents. I was just curious how much it would sell for. Don't be so selfish. Don't complain about my way. If you don't like it, get out of here. My name is Lisa. I'm a 29-year-old office worker. I met my husband, Joshua, at a matchmaking party. I've always focused on my studies, and because I went to a girls' high school, I had never been in a relationship. So even in college, I couldn't break out of my shell and focused on my studies. Then I went straight into the workforce. After I got a job, I enjoyed my work very much and devoted myself to it every day. I was more and more distant from love. Before I knew it, I had reached the age of around 30. I was fine with that, but one day, when I went to my parents' house and my mother said to me, "I'm a little worried about your future." Apparently, she was concerned that I didn't have a boyfriend to consider marrying. My mother has always been warm and also supportive of me, so I was surprised that my mother felt that way. Dad too, he doesn't talk much, but he's still worried about you. Oh, really? Audrey, you don't have to say anything extra. Well, your sister Meg got married and had a baby. I'd be relieved if you'd be happy this time. I never thought that even my father felt that way. I realized that I've been doing whatever I wanted, without thinking deeply about my parents' feelings. I have been taking advantage of my parents' kindness. Of course, it's wrong to get married just for the sake of my parents, but I think I should start to face love and marriage and find a good person to reassure my parents. Since then, I started to seriously think about marriage. I used to wear really simple makeup and wear a combination of cheap clothes at random. I thought I needed to change my appearance, so I decided to ask my sister to help me. Oh, have you fallen in love? I'm getting ready to fall in love. What is that? What is that? My sister laughed but politely told me and her daughter how to apply makeup. She also took me to various clothing stores to learn how to coordinate our outfits. I bought a lot of clothes while learning how to coordinate them. My sister used to be a hairdresser, so she had a good sense of style and was a great reference for me. Thanks to her, I look so much better than I used to. I even got compliments from people at work. Then, one of my co-workers came and said to me, "I heard about this event. Would you like to participate?" And showed me the website of a certain matchmaking party. I thought this was a great opportunity and decided to attend. There were all kinds of people at the matchmaking party. I was surprised to see so many people of all ages who wanted to get married. At the party, I met Joshua, who later became my husband. Joshua is the same age as me. He has been working as a construction worker since he graduated from high school. He told me that he really wanted to go to college, but he couldn't get a permission from his parents. They told him to get out of their house as soon as possible and kicked him out. Joshua went to a boys' school all his life and has never been in a relationship. And when he reached his current age, he got in a hurry and decided to join a matchmaking party. I felt close to him when I heard that story. Of course, unlike me, he was in a very difficult situation. I think he went through more hardship than I did, but I was also attracted to him for the reason. We exchanged contact information and met several times. Joshua was very patient with my shyness and took his time with me. After 2 years of dating, we finally got married. It was when I turned 31 years old. My parents were very happy with my marriage. I thought I was supposed to greet his parents as well. But he refused to do so because he had already cut off all ties with them. So he asked me to take him into my family. My parents and I took his situation into consideration and decided to take him into my family. We decided to have a small and quiet wedding ceremony with only our relatives since we did not invite his parents. My parents cried when they saw me in my wedding dress. They were very moved. Seeing my parents like that made me realize how happy I would have gotten married. Now I have done something dutiful to my parents. That's how I felt. My life with my husband was very happy and joyful. My husband took very good care of my parents. After we got married, I frequently went home to see them. "Mother, are you feeling all right?" "Sir, let's go fishing next time if you like." Seeing my husband speak kindly to my parents made me feel very warm. However, a few years after our marriage, something unexpected happened. It was while I was at work. My mother called me out of the blue. It's not often that my mother calls me at work. Something must have happened. "Lisa, come to the hospital quickly. Your father passed out." No way. My mind went blank. My father passed out? He was fine when I saw him at my parents' house just a few days ago. My boss asked me, "Are you okay?" I came back to my senses. I left work early and rushed to the hospital. "Lisa! Mom!" When I arrived, my mother and sister were already waiting in front of the treatment room with anxious expressions on their faces. I joined my mother in praying for my father's survival, but my father didn't make it. He just passed away. My father died in his sleep with a lifeless face. My mother broke down in tears at the sight of my father. "Why? He was so healthy until this morning." Seeing my mother's sadness made me even sadder. I thought I wanted to do something for her, so I asked her if she could come and live with us. But she said, "That house is my precious house filled with our memories. I will never leave this house." I was worried about my mother, but she insisted so hard that there was nothing I can do. I visited my mother's house more often and take care of her. A few months later, my sister divorced and moved back home with her daughter. I felt a little relieved. As long as my sister could take care of my mother, she would be fine, I thought. However, a few months later, my sister informed me that my mother has passed away. According to my sister's story, my mother would act cheerful in front of us, but she was alone and she could hear her crying. My sister said that she tried to care about my mother as much as possible and talk to her as much as she could, but my mother was still somewhat preoccupied. She gradually lost her energy even in front of my sister. She stopped eating properly and became weak. No matter how many times my sister tried to get her to the hospital, she wouldn't listen to her. She passed out while she was shopping at the supermarket. By the time she arrived at the hospital, it was already too late. It had been less than a year since my father's death, and now even my mother had passed away. I wished I had called her more often or gone to see her instead of leaving it up to my sister alone. I regretted this so much. I wish I had been more sensitive to my mother's heartbreak and grief. I couldn't regret enough. My husband rode my back and comforted me as I sobbed at her funeral. I'm glad I have a husband. He is there to support me when I'm going through a difficult time. And I'm so glad I got my parents to see me married before they passed away. After my mother's funeral, My sister and I still had a lot of paperwork to do. The most important thing was to take care of my parents' house. My sister and I had the same thought. The house that holds memories of our father and mother. We would never let it go. After talking it over, that my sister would continue to live in my parents' house with their daughter, now that everything was settled. We returned to our normal routine. Then suddenly, I got a phone call from my sister. Hello, what's wrong? What? Her voice was somewhat brusque and weak. Actually, a real estate agent came to our house just now. What? A real estate agent? Why? Well, he said he came to assist the house. What do you mean? I don't really understand either. But I thought you or I were the only ones who could contact a realtor about this house. No, I didn't contact them. We talked it over and we decided that we're definitely going to keep my parents' house. I know, right? I'm sorry, I knew that, but I just wanted to make sure. So, what happened with the real estate agent? I told him that I didn't request an appraisal and asked him to leave. Who in the world would have requested appraisal? Oh, by the way, I got a business card from the real estate agent. Really? Give me the company's phone number and the name of the person in charge. My sister gave me the contact information for the real estate agent, and I made a phone call. And I gave them my name, the address of the house, etc., and asked them to put me on the phone with the person in charge. The person in charge picked up the phone and said that he had indeed visited the house to do assessment. Neither my sister nor I made this request. Really? Oh, by the way, the client was a man. Huh? He had the same last name, so I assumed he was your brother. I hung up the phone and went straight to my husband. Hey, Joshua. Yup, what's up? Did you request an appraisal of my parents' house from the real estate agent? I asked him. Then he said, yes, with a look that said, what's the problem with that? Why would you do that? What's wrong with an appraisal? That house is filled with my mother and my father's memory, I just made a decision with my sister not to sell it. Don't be so mad. I was just wondering how much it would go for. It's a little too big for your sister and kid to live in. Then I think it's better to sell it, exchange it for money and share it with everyone. That's what I asked for an appraisal. Don't be so selfish. What the hell? I'm part of your family too, so I have the right to decide what to do with the house. Don't be so... You made me feel like I'm left out. That's not what I'm talking about. Shut up! Don't complain about my way. If you don't like it, get out of here. Saying that, my husband went into his room. I was shocked to hear him say this out of the blue. I thought he understood my feelings. Why on earth was he doing an appraisal of my parents' house? Did he really need the money so badly? I thought something was fishy, so I hired a detective agency to investigate. Then, I found out a terrible thing. My husband had a debt of $100,000. I was astonished to know this fact. I took a day off from work and left the divorce papers while he was out. I packed my belongings and left home. I explained the situation and returned to my parents' house with my sister. Later that evening, I got a phone call from my husband. Hey, what's going on? Your stuff is all gone. And what's with the divorce papers? What the hell is going on? I'm moving out and divorcing you. What? What the hell do you mean? I left because you told me to leave if I didn't like your way. Well, I did say that, but I didn't think you'd even try to divorce me. I don't trust you anymore. That's a lot for one little argument. I'm not divorcing you because we had a fight over the house. I'm saying I'm divorcing you because you've been hiding something terrible. What are you talking about? You owe a lot of money. How did you know that? I checked with the detective agency. How did you get $100,000 in debt? Well, that's My husband gave up and told me everything. My husband had a co-worker at work who said he made a lot of money from foreign exchange. He was so envious that he also started to do it himself, but it didn't work out as well as he wanted to, so he tried to recover his losses. But his losses kept growing and growing, and he got so absorbed in it. And when he realized it, he had lost a tremendous amount of money. I can't believe it. Why didn't you stop before you lost more money? I'm so sorry. It's just that I easily get into this kind of gambling. You know, my husband told me something when we first got married. His parents had always been addicted to gambling such as casino and lottery. That's why there's always no money in the house. You're doing the same thing as your parents. My husband was so shocked by my words that he shut up after that. I can't get your trust back once I've lost it. With that, I hung up the phone and demanded a divorce through my lawyer. He pleaded with me several times that he would change his mind and ask me to reconsider, but I told the lawyer that I would not withdraw my request for divorce. Eventually, my husband gave up and signed the divorce papers. The divorce was finalized. It's not that I wasn't moved by my husband's words that he would change his mind, but I was afraid that something might happen in the future. I stubbornly kept my stance of trusting my instincts and divorcing him, and I came to realize that my decision was right. One day, when I borrowed his computer while he was out, I happened to find out that he had searched online gambling. In short, my husband wanted to pay off his debts as soon as possible. He took a gamble that would make him a quick buck. Perhaps the debt is growing rapidly now. Then I think about it, I'm really glad we got divorced. In the meantime, I have a restraining order against my ex-husband. If he comes to my parents' house, I can call the police and repel him. In spite of all the sad things that happened for these few years, I feel like I'm mentally stronger now. My parents are dead, but I have a sister and a niece, so I will live happily for my parents while protecting this house together with my sister. You have done a very good job in a very hard time, Lisa. I think it was admirable that you were able to take a firm stand against your husband's addiction to gambling and force him to divorce you. It is sad that your parents have passed away, as you said. Please live a happy life for your parents, and since you are still young, I hope you will be blessed with a good encounter next time. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel if you like. See you in the next video.
You gotta be kidding me. You're the one with the problem. Why haven't you paid for the accommodation? Because you're the one who left me. Just bring the money here. I'm not going to because I'm the one who was left behind. I didn't want to go on that trip in the first place. My husband and I have been married for 6 years. Our 5-year-old daughter is adorable, and watching her grow up day by day is the best part of my life. However, the relationship between my husband and I is at its worst. I quit my job when my child was 1 year old, and my husband told me that if I'm not working, I would have to do all the house chores on my own. So I did all the housework and raised the child by myself. When my daughter was newborn, I had a hard time getting enough sleep. I even asked my husband for help. But his answer was that he would divorce me anytime if I had a problem with it. He showed me the completed divorce papers and put them in a drawer in front of me. Then, every time something happened, he would pull out this paper and mention divorce with a disgusted look on his face. And my mother-in-law, who raised such a son, is just like my husband. I have a good news for you today. My mother-in-law visits all of a sudden, opens the fridge without asking, and starts eating my son's yogurt. My mother-in-law always comes over out of the blue, and if that was all she did, I could still put up with it. She would lecture me about how a wife should be on and on after my husband had complained about me. She would look for dust in the corners of the house and criticize about me. I don't trust her when she tells me that she has a good news for me. What's wrong with you? You should look happier that I'm going to tell you good news. You are really not nice. My son is right. What's the news? We're going on a trip. I see. Where to? It's your job as an unemployed person to decide that. What do you mean? You're really not very smart either, are you? It's so unfortunate. I have a surprise for my son, who always works so hard. A surprise? Yes, let's all help him relieve his fatigue. The point is this. My mother-in-law wants to go on a trip with her son, but she doesn't want to pay for it herself. So she came up with an idea to invite me and my daughter on this trip too, and she wants to make me pay for it. Who would want to go on such a trip? I definitely don't want to go. Besides, we can't afford it. Let's make it a grand trip. No, I never said that I was going. Let me think about this for a while. I finished the conversation with my mother-in-law while not knowing what to do. When my husband came home that night, he was in a very bad mood. I could see why. My mother-in-law must have told him, I heard you disobeyed my mother today. I was just telling the truth. What? Are you saying that we can't take her on vacation? That's right. We don't have that kind of money. My mother-in-law said it was a surprise, and she already told my husband about the trip. What's the surprise in this? If we're not managing our finance well, it's your fault. How can I manage what we don't have? Are you trying to say that I don't make enough money? Well, it's not much. You gotta be kidding me. Anyway, I'm definitely going on this trip. You better plan everything. That's an order. If you can't do it, we're getting a divorce. I might as well get a divorce now. But what will my daughter think? That's the only thing I'm worried about. At the end, I had to look for the hotel when I wasn't even sure about the trip. However, after she spoke with my husband, my mother-in-law started to get very picky. I want a room with an open-air bathtub. The meals should be the most luxurious at the hotel. And so on. I wondered how much it would cost if I accommodated such requests. But if I did not listen to her requests, I would be subjected to another storm of sarcasm. I decided to take a certain action shamelessly. Then, I was able to fulfill all of my mother-in-law's requests. My mother-in-law's tension was very high and annoying when she found out about it. She said something incomprehensible. It's because I suggested everything to her. Really, it was thanks to my mom that you were able to get the accommodation. My husband started lecturing me over dinner, as usual. However, I had endured this for 4 years and perhaps had already become immune, so I just let him talk away. The only thing that saved me was that my husband did not burst into sarcasm in front of our daughter, as if he was not comfortable with showing this side of him to his daughter. On the day of the trip, I am sitting in the driver's seat. I was the one who rented the car, and of course, I am the one driving. My husband is just sitting like he owns the place in the passenger seat. My mother-in-law was in the back seat, not listening at all to my daughter. Instead, she's talking to herself about some souvenirs. I have been driving all morning, but neither my husband nor my mother-in-law show any signs of offering to help. I was not allowed to take a break, and we finally stopped at a service area when my daughter asked to use the restroom. I quickly took my daughter to the restroom and hurried back to the car. But the car was gone. I circled the parking lot, looking around in a panic, but the car was nowhere to be found. Thinking there was no way, I called my husband. But there was no answer, so I called my mother-in-law. "You guys came back too late." My mother-in-law laughed and said we were too late and she had left us. I tried to tell her that I had just gone to the bathroom for a few minutes, but my husband's voice interrupted me. "It's your fault that this happened, because you don't obey me. You have no right to go on this trip." Was that your plan all along? If so, then what? I'm fine, but what about our daughter Nina? She's the same as you. She's been acting cocky lately. She talked back at Mom for complaining about you. She needs to be spanked too. But she was looking forward to this trip. So, I'll think about it again when you're both sorry. If you understand it, you can go home now. My husband hung up the phone. Well, what to do now? It's indeed a long way home from here. Mom, are you okay? Did Dad and Grandma leave us? I guess so. They're so mean, aren't they? Yeah, I think so too. Are we going home? Yeah, but you've been looking forward to this trip. But only because it's with you, Mom. If you're going home, I want to go home too. Then let's go on an adventure together. Adventure! My daughter's carefree smile saved me. I then contacted my friend Lisa, who lives a short distance from here, and told her what had happened. She immediately came to pick me up and take us home. Hey, what are you going to do? My friend made sure my daughter was asleep before she started talking. I think I'm getting a divorce. That's good. You put up with it for a long time. Yeah, and I definitely don't want this husband who harms my daughter anymore. I signed the divorce papers in the drawer and asked Lisa to fill in the witness box. My mother-in-law's name was already written in the other witness box. Thanks to this, I was able to file the divorce papers right away. 3 days after returning home from the service area, my phone rang as soon as I dropped my daughter off at the kindergarten. You gotta be kidding me. You're the one with the problem. Why haven't you paid for the accommodation? Because you're the one who left me. You should have paid in advance. Oh, really? Besides, why should it cost $6,000 for the hotel? It's the result of fulfilling all your favorite mother's wishes. Get over here now with the money as fast as you can. I'm not going to because I'm the one who was left behind. I didn't want to go on that trip in the first place. You and your mother had a great time there, so why don't you split it? That would be $3,000 per person. At that moment, I heard a woman's voice on the other side of the phone. It's time for you to pay. If you don't pay, I will call the police. No problem. My wife will pay. She's on her way here right now. Where is your wife now? At home. I checked your address, but it looks like you're a long way from home. You left her in the service area and you're telling her to come just to pay? Excuse me? Your wife and I have been friends since high school. I was the one who picked her up and your daughter from the service area. I shamelessly asked my old friend for her help for this trip. Then she told me that she would offer me the hotel that she runs as the owner for free. When we were still in high school, she was struggling with her future. Her family owned the renowned hotel, but she had other dreams. As the only daughter, she was unable to fulfill those dreams, so she took over the hotel in tears. She said that I was the one who cheered her more than anyone else at that time. She felt that she owed me for it, and this time she returned the favor. I told her that she did not have to pay if she would stay at the hotel. But she's not here. I have no personal connection with you. In other words, you are simply hotel guests. Since you are just guests, I would like you to pay the full price. All right, look, why don't you pay with your credit card for now and charge it to your wife later? I don't want to do that. It's not that you don't want to, it's that you can't. Wait, what do you mean? Because your son's salary is $1,200. The credit card limit is $3,000 at most. What do you mean? Your wife is lying. You said you were getting a good salary. My husband just stood in silence. He's a salesman, and if he gets a contract, he gets an incentive and paid more. However, my husband, who has a low sales, only receives the minimum guaranteed salary. Therefore, the amount of money is not anywhere near what he can afford. Don't tell me you're going to pay out of your savings. That's for the divorce payment, the alimony, and child support. What the hell are you talking about? I filed for divorce. Did you say you would divorce me anytime? Thank you. I submitted it that day as fast as I could. So we're not married anymore. Wait a minute. I won't wait. My husband eventually promised Lisa that he would pay in installments. I then got an attorney and formally filed for custody of my daughter, child support, and alimony. And I took my daughter back to my parents' house. One of the regulars at Lisa's hotel is an executive at my husband's company, and the executive told him to pay for the stay in full. My mother-in-law had divorced when my ex-husband was in middle school, and she was planning to have him take care of her in the future. When my mother-in-law found out about my ex-husband's income, she contacted me to ask me to reconsider the divorce. I really wonder how she can have the nerves to say that after all that she has done to me. My ex-husband also calls me and says that my daughter needs a father and that we should marry again and live together. My daughter is happily living at home with my parents. I don't know what he's talking about now, since he never took care of her anyway. My ex-husband went back to his mother's house right after the divorce. He had a poor performance at work and was not a good planner, so he applied for a last-minute vacation for that trip. The fact that he couldn't pay for the hotel also became known through the company executive, and my ex-husband is feeling very small at work. Next weekend, I will be going to Lisa's hotel with my daughter. And I started a new work so I could make a solid basis for the future. It's been a long time since I worked, but it is so much more fulfilling than the marriage I had. The idea that it's better for children to have both parents together did not apply to our case. I think it's more important for children to have smiling parents. I have learned many things from this divorce. The only thing that has not changed is my desire to always put my daughter first. With my daughter, I can always give my best anywhere. People like her ex-husband seem to have a lot of confidence. I wonder where they get their confidence from. Either way, I think the divorce was the right decision. I'm glad that she has a wonderful daughter and a friend. I hope you have a peaceful life with your daughter from now on. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you like. See you in the next video.
You quit your job. Does that mean you're going to leave off me? No, it's not true. Becoming independent is like a career change. That doesn't mean there's no money coming in. You're going independent? Are you kidding me? That's not going to work. Then you should go independent from me too. Huh? Divorce! I'm talking about divorce! I'm not going to support an unemployed person. My name is Lisa. I'm 40 years old, working while raising my child. I haven't worked since my daughter was born, but I was lucky enough to be rehired by my former employer when she started elementary school. I work mainly from home. My daughter is grown and she is the 6th grade now. Now that I've settled down with child rearing, I think it's time for me to try something new at work. My husband is the same age, 40. When we married, he was a salesman with good earning potential. Confident in his sales performance, my husband changed jobs 3 years ago, expecting to earn a higher salary. But the reality is the exact opposite. His salary has gone down, his benefits are worse than at his previous company, and he has to work overtime every day. My family is a farmer in the countryside. My daughter has been watching them work the fields since she was a little girl. When she goes to the countryside, she happily helps with that. My parents are happy to work in the fields with their grandchildren. They were devoted to do all kinds of field work with my daughter. However, my husband hates the countryside, and he never wants to go with me to my parents' house for any reason. I'm going back to my parents' house for a week. How about you? I have work to do, so no thanks. I've got a project that's coming to a close. I see, roger that. I know from the beginning that my husband won't be coming, but we're a family for a change. Even if you know he's not coming, you still have to ask. And when my daughter and I live on my parents' house, my husband calls me every day. There's nothing wrong with this contact if it is about worrying us or showing his love to us, but my husband contacts me for things that don't matter. What should I eat today? Why don't you just eat the leftovers from the fridge? I'm not in the mood for that. Then why don't you cook something yourself? What? Why should I? I'm tired. Yeah, you've worked hard. Where's my change of clothes? It's all folded up in your usual drawer. Whoa, what's with that folding? Cut corners? Well, you're on your own then. My husband's been like this is the whole time I've been at my parents' house. So for the most part, I ignored my husband's calls and messages. My husband doesn't like it when my daughter and I go back to my parents' house either. Every time we come home from my parents' house, the house is overflowing with garbage. Mom, when we go to Grandpa's house, Dad always leaves the room so messy. Yes, he does. Why do you always clean up the mess, Mom? He's the one who makes the mess, right? Shouldn't he clean up after himself? Certainly. My daughter is also half disgusted with my husband's attitude. Even though we're enjoying Grandpa's house, I hate it because it's always dirty when I come home. Yeah, Mom hates it too. Hey, Can't we live at Grandpa's house? Grandpa and Grandma must have a hard time working in the fields. I wish I could help out there. Thank you. Grandpa and Grandma would love that. My daughter has a kindness that bears no resemblance to my selfish husband. I'm sure I'm just tired of my husband's childish ways. Then, after a long vacation, I went to my company to discuss my health annual assessment and goals. My daughter's comments prompted me to bring up a proposal to the president. Why don't we use our program to make agriculture more IT-oriented? Now, it's a business that other companies have been working on for quite a long time. Indeed, the president is right. It is a business that has been in existence overseas for decades. Japanese companies have been building new business models in agriculture for about 10 years. I think with the patents we have, we can operate it successfully. We already have candidates for farmers who can cooperate with us as an operational model. I see. In the meantime, can you submit a proposal? Okay, I will. I immediately asked my parents for the cooperation. They both readily agreed right away. My daughter's words that her grandparents are hard at work and that she wants to help. She gave me a great business opportunity. A month after the proposal was made, my project was approved. From there, I worked like crazy. I was worried about my parents who were getting older every year. So if this project was successful, I would be very happy if this project could help them. But my husband was relentless in his attempts to dampen my enthusiasm. You've been acting kind of flirtatious lately, haven't you? I don't like it. Oh, really? Are you getting carried away? I don't know. Your face demotivates me. Well, it's bad for your mood. Then you don't have to look at me. I know what my husband wants. He just wants to make him feel bad. I feel bad enough, just as my husband wants me to. But I dare not show it on my face. I don't change my tone of voice and I treat him normally. He has always been like this. For some reason, when I get carried away or seem to be enjoying myself, he is always eager to hurt me. I'm used to this kind of thing by now, so I don't deal with it. But that doesn't sit well with him. Huh? I can't just not look at you. We live together. That's not true. All you have to do is stay in your room. I'm perfectly capable of doing my job and taking care of my daughter. I'm sure if you took care of yourself, we wouldn't have to have any contact. That is not what I was talking about. My husband yelling at me. I'm really pissed off. I want to divorce my husband, but I don't know what to tell my daughter. I can't make up my mind. And since I don't react to his words, the last thing he does is criticize the farmer. Maybe your inability to read what's actually behind the words is because you grew up on a farm in the countryside. He really is a child. I try to act normal, but when he brings up my parents, it really pisses me off. But this time, I'm the one who's keeping a pretty level head. For the first time, a project I proposed that I wanted to work on has been adopted. I'm so motivated that my husband's annoyance is not a big problem for me. So, you can't do your job because you grew up in the city. You're crossing the line. That's exactly what I'm going to say to you. Don't be the dick! No, you were the one who said that first. We've been arguing like this a lot lately. He used to be a nice guy. Then, just before he changed his job, he changed. My husband and I didn't get along, but my work was going inversely well. A few months later, I resigned from the company. After consulting with the company, I decided to leave and to sign a license agreement with the current company, and I decided to become independent. Of course, I had told my husband about this in advance. I guess he didn't listen to me at all, because as soon as I resigned from the company, I was told by my husband that he was divorcing me. You quit your job. Does that mean you're going to live off me? No, that's not true. Independence is like a career change. That doesn't mean there's no money coming in. You're going to become independent? Are you kidding me? That's not going to work. Then go independent from me too. Huh? Divorce! I'm talking about divorce! I'm not going to support an unemployed person. I was at a loss for words, startled by the sudden words divorce. It was because I was thinking of my daughter. Mom, get a divorce! My daughter, who should have been sleeping, opened the living room door. My husband looked momentarily upset at this. I just made the obvious choice. It's your fault for saying you're quitting your job. My husband is standing in front of my daughter and insisting that this is not his fault. But my daughter only sees me. My husband is out of her mind from the beginning. Are you sure? Yes, I want you to divorce. I don't like him. He always says nasty things to you, Mom. Don't say you won't get a divorce for me. I want you to divorce right now. So, let's go live with Grandpa and Grandmom. Thank you. But you have to change schools. Are you okay with that? Yeah, I'm totally fine. Let's go. You don't have to talk to Dad anymore, right? Yeah, I guess so. Well, I guess that's it. We'll talk about the details later. Hey! Oh God. What? It's not my fault. Okay. So we'll talk later. Well, I hope you can live a life you won't regret in the future. Huh? I ain't gonna do it. I'll be free once you guys are gone. I turned my back on my husband, who was still ranting and raving, and left the house with my daughter. My daughter seemed relaxed at my parents' house. Despite my worries, my daughter, who was changed school since the new semester, seems to be enjoying her new school. Once my daughter was settled, my husband and I had another discussion about divorce. My husband said he would not pay alimony because I was to blame. Normally, if it was my fault, he would have to ask for alimony. However, my husband was not asking me for alimony. Does he not understand the meaning of liable? I will properly charge you alimony. Huh? Because you're liable, right? I knew it. You're just unemployed. You don't have any knowledge. How can I be liable? I didn't do anything. Yeah, you certainly didn't do anything about the house or our daughter. I was on the same terms as you, and I was the one struggling. But you're friendly with Mary, and you take care of everything for her. What? I laid the evidence of my husband's infidelity on the table. What? How did you collect all this? You didn't steal my phone, did you? You're rude. Excuse me, you're the rude one. You're a married man. What the hell are you doing? And I didn't collect these. You're unemployed. You had the money to hire a detective? It's our daughter. Huh? She's the one who collected all this. After we separated, my daughter told me that my husband used to walk arm in arm with a woman she didn't know, and she used my laptop to sync my husband's phone. She showed me the data and encouraged me to divorce. She said she hates you. She hates that you're her father. So I can divorce you without a second thought. I can't believe you let your daughter see these pictures of you. You're such a lousy father. I have all the evidence, so there's no point in trying to make excuses. Besides, your new job was caused by another affair. And you said you're paying alimony to the husband of that time's affair partner. You even lied about your salary being reduced, and you've looked into all of that. When I told him this much, my husband, who had been so bull-headed, nodded his head. I'm proud to have such a talented daughter. I would be happy if she takes over my company in the future. That is, of course, if she wants to. Sorry, the devil's advocate. Let's not get divorced after all. You don't want to be unemployed either, do you? No, I'm not stopping. Besides, you're the one in trouble. If you won't pay alimony and child support in the lump sum, I will come to your company and tell them everything. Hey, if you do that, I'm not gonna be able to stay in my job. Yeah, well, maybe you should start looking for a job again. You're going to regret this rest of your life. My husband sobbed and asked me for help, but I smiled and brushed him off. After that, my husband was reluctant to sign the divorce papers, so I hired a lawyer and left everything else to him. Then, in less than 2 weeks, we were divorced. My husband didn't want it to cost him any more money. He has 2 alimony cases and pays child support. On top of that, a lawyer would put my ex-husband on the verge of going broke. Then my ex paid alimony and child support in one lump sum. He couldn't pay them with his savings, so he went out of his way to inform me that he was in debt now. He was trying so hard to appeal to me that I must feel sorry for him, but I ignored him. When I filed a claim for alimony with the cheating partner as well, my ex-husband and the cheating partner broke up after a huge fight. The cheater was furious, asking why she was paying alimony, but in the end she said she would pay. She asked her parents to borrow the money. I heard that she went back to the countryside and helped the family business so that her parents can keep her under surveillance. My husband couldn't afford the rent on the apartment anymore. He now has to move into a shabby apartment. My business has taken off and I'm enjoying every day. Things didn't work out with my husband, but I'm glad that what I have learned has been useful for my family's farming business. My parents are happy that the IT system has reduced their work hours significantly and has lessened their workload. This whole thing was saved by my daughter. I had to let her have a smartphone and tablet in elementary school. There was some resistance, but my daughter seems to be using them well. My daughter's favorite place is still the field, but she is beginning to take an interest in my work. Lately, she's been asking me to teach her how to make a website. I'm looking forward for her future. The 12-year-old daughter is excellent, but because of that, it saddens me that she has seen the part of her father that she doesn't want to see. I hope the adults around her will take good care of her. Your mother is right. I look forward to your future.